Set up, handle set, ball position good, hit down on it. Starts right, tiny draw, and as you can see, I took a divot. So once you have your tee height established and your ball position established, under the left shoulder, club shaft straight up and down, same swing I just made. Really high, really straight with really no effort. Okay, so we've got fairway woods, hybrids, drivers, okay? So as you guys can see, I have my driver, my 5-wood. I have a 3-iron driving iron. This is also classified as a hybrid. Compared to a normal iron, you can see the difference. Biggest difference is gonna be the sole width. And for general rule of thumb, the wider the sole, the higher this golf ball wants to go. So the reason why the club head gets bigger as it gets longer is because as the loft gets lower and lower, to produce less backspin, we need a way to kick the ball up into the air. Contrary to what a lot of people believe is they think the shaft does that. No, it doesn't. The loft and the width of the sole. And what that's going to do is it moves the center of gravity. Okay, we're going to use some physics terms here. The wider the sole moves the center of gravity of the club head further away from the club face. The further away from the club face that gets, the higher the golf ball is going to launch. If my driver at 9 degrees and my 6-iron was at 9 degrees, my 6-iron would launch the lowest simply because the center of gravity is closer to the club face. So that's the main major difference in a hybrid and a fairway wood and an iron is loft and the width of the sole. Other key issues that people ask me a lot, moving the ball position in your stance based off of what club we have, right? When I was growing up, I was told to play most of my irons out of the middle of my stance, and as the club got longer, we played it slightly more and more forward. And a lot of people are told this to try and sweep the ball more, or even with the driver, tee it high enough and far enough forward to hit up on it in order to hit that ball far. Well, the average tour pro, according to TrackMan data published from the last few years, is the average tour pro hits down just under 1 degree with their driver. Now, some of the long guys hit up a lot. Some of the long guys hit down a lot. Rory hits up about 3 to 5 degrees. Cameron Champ hits down 2.5. Minwoo Lee hits down 2.5. Bubba Watson hits down 1.5. Bryson hits up like 8, right? So depending on the golfer and their preference, you don't have to hit up on it to get the ball to go far. Swinging the club fast, hitting the ball in the middle of the face is what's going to make it go far. Hitting up or hitting down is not going to make it go far. That's just going to influence your ball flight and where you hit it on the face. So for me, I like to try to feel more level, because if I try to swing up too much, I lose control left or right of the golf ball, because it makes the ball tumble offline too easily. Here on the ground, I have, if you guys have ever been to a clinic of mine before, and I've talked about the grid, different ball positions within my stance that I can play any shot. My stock 6-iron is played generally from 3 balls behind the center of the arc. Center of the arc is my left shoulder projected down to the ground, right? This is the center of my divot. So I play my irons right there at 3 golf balls behind it. This allows me to make solid contact with it. Divot ends up, hit the ground here, exit here, center of my divot ends up around my low point. As my club gets longer, if I'm hitting it off the ground, I don't change it. My stance might get a little wider. So in relation to my feet, the ball moves. In relation to my left shoulder, it doesn't. If I demonstrated here, this is my 6-iron. That's my 5-wood. Same ball positions, right? They're in line with one another. This is my 6-iron stance. That's my 5-wood stance. The ball didn't move in relation to my left shoulder. My foot got wider. So I don't measure ball position and where we play the ball in the stance based off of my feet, because my feet can change. This doesn't. This stays the same all the time. And even if I'm hitting a fairway wood off the ground, even if I'm hitting it off a tee, it's only teed up about 1/4 inch. Fairway wood, I don't want to hit up on it at all, because then I risk hitting it on the bottom of the face. hit it on the bottom of the face, this ball is going to be topped or it's going to fly really low. It's not going to go as far as I need it to. So I'm still trying to hit this with a descending blow. I'm not going to move the ball forward in my stance. I'm going to play it where I normally play this. The only one that changes is my driver. And that's because the face is as tall as it is, right? We have to tee it higher. So if I hit down too much and move the ball too far back and I start hitting it up here on the crown, that ball's not going to go anywhere, right? So to hit the driver, this is really the only one that I move the ball position on. Generally, I set the club shaft in my left arm. I try to get them right over that orange line. I play the ball right in front of it. This is the only ball, the only club that I move the ball to hit solid. Because if I play it back here, now I'm going to start manipulating things with the face, the path, the contact point to try and hit that ball straight. Now I can play the ball back in the stance with the driver. It's just going to make the ball want to start right and play a bigger curve. The more forward I play in the stance, the ball wants to start left and it wants to curve to the right. So I can influence the curvature based off of where I play the ball. But for a generality, I don't try to hit the ball solid with a fairway wood placed that far forward in my stance, because I don't want to hit it thin, I don't want to top it, as well as I don't want to hit the ground early and hit it fat, right? If I use my 6-iron and my driver, these have different swing lengths, right? Now when I play the club flat on the ground, they also have different lie angles, right? The lie angle is the angle in which the club shaft goes into the club head when the club head sits flat on the ground. My 6-iron is, let me do the math, somewhere between 59 and 60 degrees. My driver, if I remember right, is somewhere in the 50s, right? So it sits, essentially goes into the ground at a flatter angle, right? The longer the shaft and the flatter the lie angle, the more around me the club is going to travel. My iron's gonna go slightly more up in the air. My driver is gonna look more like this. The longer the club shaft, the taller I am at address. I don't have as much forward bend, right? This is my 6-iron, and this is my driver. I wouldn't play my driver from down here. I would play my driver from there. So I get taller. So when we get taller and the club shaft is longer, the lie angle's flatter. This is my 6-iron. This is my driver. It's a lot flatter of a swing plane, right? So it's more around me. All of those are influenced from where we set the ball up and the way we stand to the ball. It's not because I'm trying to physically manipulate where my arms go. Does that make sense? Most fairway woods, okay, doesn't have to be limited to just the 5 wood. I'm going to set this thing up with my ball position pretty much 3 golf balls behind my left armpit. I'm keeping everything else the same that I would hit with a 6-iron. My weight slightly forward, my handle's leaning forward, my face is slightly open. This is how I hit the ball to the right with a tiny draw, but I'm just making solid contact with it. I'm not changing anything except moving away from it. Standing a little bit taller compared to my 6-iron, right? Set up, handle set, ball position good, hit down on it. Starts right, tiny draw, and as you can see, I took a divot. Fairway woods and hybrids are designed to take divots. If somebody says you don't need to take a divot with them, then you risk hitting the ball down here. The sole is shaped this way to help go through the turf. That's how we want to do that. So the driver's the one club in the bag I usually, unless you're trying to hit it off the deck, is you don't necessarily want to hit the ground. You usually want to, you can either brush the ground with it or you can be just above the ground. You taking divots with your driver, you've probably got a bunch of other things going on, right? If I play the ball back in the stance and the handle gets leaning forward, there's just not enough loft on this club to get the ball to go airborne. So when I play in the wind, especially like if I was playing number 1 today, I would hit driver, but I would tee the ball back in the stance, push the handle forward, and I would drive this as well as I could, right? The wind's just not going to move it. But if I want to hit this on my normal trajectory, which launches right now about 13, 14 degrees, my shafted address is very straight up and down, and I can actually use all the loft that's on there. So the ball position needs to be under my left shoulder. The club shafted address needs to be straight up and down. Now we can't talk about how to hit the driver unless we talk about tee height. This is probably the biggest question I get when it comes to hitting the drivers. How high do I tee the golf ball? If I was to try to hit 2 golf balls at once teed on top of one another, I could make contact with both of these simultaneously, right? So the face sits about 2 golf balls high from the equator to the equator, right? Most of the time, the hot spot on a driver is not in the middle of the face. It's usually slightly higher. Because we set the club down on the ground and we hit it with it slightly off the ground, if I teed it here, right in the middle, right? And then I set the club down there and then I hit it up here, well, now I'm hitting it lower on the face. The ball's not going to go as far. It's going to launch lower. It's going to spin more. You're just going to lose some speed. So I like to tee the ball 1 ball high. If I was to set this on the ground, put the tee in the ground, 1 ball high, I put another ball on top of it. That's my stock tee height. So when I put the club down, from my perspective, it looks like the top of the face is right around the equator of that golf ball. Depending on the size of your driver, every driver, the faces are not uniform. They're slightly taller, slightly shorter, right? This is going to vary depending on your driver. But this is a good place to start. If you find yourself consistently hitting the ball too high on the face, tee it down a little bit. If you find yourself hitting it consistently on the bottom of the face, tee it a little bit higher. Don't go too much, because if you go too much, you start catching it up here on the crown, and that's no-go. That's how you break stuff, is when you start hitting the driver up here, right? But once you have your tee height established and your ball position established, under the left shoulder, club shaft straight up and down, same swing I just made. Really high, really straight, with really no effort. I'm not changing the swing from anything that I normally do. I'm changing the setup. I'm letting the swing mechanics do their job.